So please help me welcome Michael Mapes.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here this morning. And I'm not as actually is this got on? Okay. I'm not as prepared as I normally am, so I hope that you'll bear with me, and I'll talk to you about why I'm not as prepared and as polished as I like to be, especially when I'm in this community, because everyone here is so committed to doing their own work and so committed to doing their personal work. I love speaking here because it actually challenges me to go to another level. It challenges me to move beyond platitudes and cliches and spirituality 101 and really offer something, as Janelle said, that's going to stir you and move you. Just because I'm not as polished doesn't mean I don't have really, really good information for you today, because I do. And if you can master what I'm going to talk to you about today, then it will be rare for you to find yourself in a situation in which you don't feel resourceful, or it will be rare for you to find yourself in a situation in which you can't empower yourself. So as you listen today, do the mind work and process it intellectually, but even more importantly than that, pay attention to how the energy is feeling in your body. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is designed to challenge you. It's designed to make you feel uncomfortable. And what I've learned from doing my own work is that really the miraculous transformations happen in that space of being completely uncomfortable. The flyer here says motivational service. And transformation is about a lot more than just motivation. It's about a lot more than just inspiration. So take what I say today, take what works for you and leave the rest. But know that inspiration is the first step to transformation. It's what wakes you up to a way of thinking or a way of being in the world that says, maybe I could do things differently. Maybe I could exist in a more loving way. But understand that transformation is about much more than just the initial inspiration, just the initial motivation. And hopefully, by the time I'm finished speaking today, you'll feel a little bit more equipped to really engage with your own personal transformations, whatever that may be. The reason I didn't have as much time to prepare this morning is because I'm in the middle, in my business, of a really big launch right now. So we're launching a 6-month group coaching program for intuitives and healers, which means that every spare minute I'm on the phone trying to get somebody to join the program, or I'm teaching a class either live or virtually, or I'm working with my team to figure out how we can really get the message out to people who could potentially benefit from the program. And so since I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, I was thinking about, well, what is it that I know? What is it that is true for me in this moment of launching this program and connecting with all of these beautiful entrepreneurs? And what I realized was that while this is a business training program, it's much more about helping people bring their vision into reality. So while we might teach them about marketing and sales and website design and how to use social media, we also teach them about mindset and how to gain confidence and how to see their own value. And what I want to talk to you about today is how you can take the personal vision for your life and turn that into a reality. What I realized after working with, thousands of entrepreneurs all over the planet is that I am really clear on what it takes, both on a mental and a practical and a spiritual and emotional level, to actually see your vision made manifest in the world. A lot of people have wishes, which my friend Keisha Lynn says stands for waiting indefinitely for something to happen. But they don't necessarily have the roadmap to be able to bring those wishes from simple desire into reality. The thing is, the universe is not unpredictable. There's a rule book to the universe, and the universe doesn't want you to fail. And so what I want to offer you today is the roadmap for how to take that wish, that desire, that calling, maybe that vague stirring inside of you that says, I'm meant to do something more, or I'm meant to have my life constructed in a way that's more fulfilling and meaningful for me, and really help you step into that and really help you embody whatever your personal vision is. When we hear the word visionary, I think we tend to equate it with greatness. So we think of the greats, Martin Luther King, Jr., Mother Teresa, Jesus, Buddha, maybe some of the contemporary spiritual teachers. We think of these people who have been beacons of light, who have given us wisdom, often the same wisdom, just repeated in different ways or in different times. And yet, there's a visionary contained in each one of us. I recently heard Derek Rydell speak, and he said the acorn doesn't have to try to become the oak tree, it simply unfolds. And so the potential to be a visionary is contained within each one of us. Unfortunately, too often we don't cultivate our inner visionary. We don't spend time cultivating our strengths or unleashing our inner visionary, but it's present in each one of us. And if it was just about you and your personal journey, then I might not care so much about helping you step into your role as a visionary. But it's not just about you. When you look at where we are as a planet right now, when you look at where we are environmentally, when you look at the level of anger that most people are turned up to on a daily basis, when you look at the number of people that die from needless suffering, I think it's pretty clear that it's no longer enough to just wait for the next great visionary to emerge. And indeed, I believe that more and more people are feeling called to a greater purpose, to a transcendent purpose, because if we don't answer that calling, then I don't think it's great news for the planet. And it's actually not great news for us either. So I'm really passionate about spiritual people understanding that your personal growth and development is not just a narcissistic endeavor. I'm really passionate about people understanding that the contents of your thoughts and emotions, and certainly the choices that you make as a result of your thoughts and emotions, have everything to do with what's happening on a planetary level. It's not separate. And so I am really committed to people getting the information and being supported in such a way so that they can unleash their inner visionary. Now, does that mean that everyone's inner visionary is going to be the same as somebody like Martin Luther King Jr.? It doesn't. It may be even greater. But what it means, vision means that you are living in alignment with your purpose. So if your purpose is to be a great parent to your children, that's not a greater or lesser purpose than someone who might be out there fighting on the front lines of social justice. It's different. The issue becomes when you feel that purpose and you live in a way that is not in alignment with that purpose. And I'll talk a little bit more to you over the course of the morning about how you can really get yourself into alignment with your purpose. The thing is, if you are living out of alignment with your purpose, your life will not be easy, because you'll constantly feel incongruent. The universe will constantly push you in the direction of living your purpose. If you've ever felt like you're living your life against the grain or you're swimming upstream, that occurs metaphysically because you're out of alignment with your purpose. Now, stepping into living your vision isn't always easy either. It's not always convenient either. The difference is when you live your purpose, you tend to have a more profound level of support around you, and you tend to care less because in your own heart, it's filled with meaning, it's filled with purpose, it's filled with a greater degree of satisfaction. So if you feel right now that your life is just not working, or another way of saying this, another way that I hear people say this a lot is that if you're saying like life is hard, a lot, if you have sort of that cynicism, it's probably because in some way you're not in alignment with what your purpose is. takes courage to find out what that purpose is, and I'll help you do that over the course of the morning. But I just want you to understand that all vision means is that you're living in alignment with your purpose. And I think that it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of dedication to be able to say, this is the vision for my life. And you may not know it all at the beginning. It almost certainly will not look like what you think it looks like when you start out, and it will definitely evolve and it will definitely change. But the thing is, through that evolution, through that change, still have the courage to say, this is what I want to create for my life. So what I want to share with you is the 5 things that are really essential to being able to take your desires, your wishes, your dreams, and really move them to a vision. The first thing that you must do if you want to step into the vision for your life is become aware of what that vision is. Has anyone here felt a calling, like a stirring within them, like I'm meant to do more, I'm meant to live in a slightly different way, but you're not sure exactly what that is? Or you're not sure exactly what that looks like? I see that more and more and more, and even over the last 10 years that I've been doing this work, now, truly, more than at any other time, people call me with that feeling. It's often very vague, and it's often not even in the mind. It's often more in the stomach. It's often more in the solar plexus, in the core. But things are moving, and things are shifting. It can be very disconcerting, especially if you've taken a certain path in your life. If you have followed the guide maybe set up by your parents or set up by your family, a tribe, to find out that perhaps the road that worked for them is not the road that's going to work for you. It can be disconcerting to feel like you've done all the right things, and yet the world that you now see around you is not as fulfilling as you were led to believe. A lot of people feel that calling, and they just never acknowledge it. A lot of people never get to a room like this. You do, and that's something that you really deserve to be honored for. But more than at any other time, I see people saying things like, I know that I have to make a difference. I know that I have to do something. Now, sometimes that's I need to quit my job and go out and start a business, but other times that's I need to live in a way that's simpler, or I need to live in a way in which I make kinder, more loving choices, or sometimes that's about I need to travel and see the world, or I need to have these experiences. So it can look like a lot of different things. Here's the thing. When it comes to living your vision, there's 2 places that people get hung up. And there's 2 things that you simply cannot do if you have any hope of ever embodying, living, and enjoying this vision. The first thing that you cannot do is say, I don't know. And anytime my clients say to me, when I ask them a question, I don't know, I say, that's okay, I'll wait. Because we always know. We always know. Like, your vision, your purpose, it's coded on to the DNA of your soul. Like, you can't not know. You can deny. You can resist. You can tell yourself a lie. You can tell yourself that you'll get to it tomorrow. You can make excuses. But the truth of the matter is that you know. You may not know the entire end product, but you know pieces of it. You know what you would like to feel like, right? So you know where you're at versus where you would like to be. So you cannot say, I don't know what I would like to create. Sometimes people say, I don't know, because when you start thinking about what you would like to ultimately create in your life, it can be scary. Because what if it doesn't show up? What if it doesn't show up? Don't think that big, because you might not get it. I mean, the problem with our world right now is not that people are thinking too big, and so for most people, when you start this process, you must think way, way, way bigger than you've been conditioned to think. And I find it really disheartening sometimes when people, even in their mind and heart, can't acknowledge what they really want, or can't dream about what might make them happier. The thing is, you might be disappointed if you don't get what you want, but if you're afraid to dream, if you're afraid to engage with the process of what do I want, you're already disappointed. You're already disappointed. And it's a deep, deep kind of disappointment, because even if you don't ultimately get what you want in your vision, the process of courageously engaging with it is ultimately what up-levels you. It's ultimately what helps your spirit mature. It's ultimately what provides you the experiences to be more kind, more loving, more forgiving in your life. So you can't say, I don't know. That's one place that people get really hung up. The other place where people get really hung up is around perfectionism. I need to have every single piece of this mapped out until I can take action. I see this a lot with business owners. I can't step into this yet because I don't have this all mapped out. And it's a way of keeping you exactly where you are. The thing is, sometimes, until you take the first step, the universe can't even deliver to you the clarity for the next part of your vision. So all you need in this step is enough clarity to take the next step. Right? So you may not know ultimately where you want to be in 10 years or 20 years, but you know enough to take the next step. And sometimes until you take action on that step, you won't gain clarity about what the ultimate vision is. So two places where people get hung up with that. They either say, I don't know. I don't know. And this is a lot of times where people will say, like, oh, I'm waiting for a sign. But what I notice is usually people have had a lot of signs, a lot of evidence about what is working and what is not working, but they haven't taken the action on it yet. Or they haven't actually committed themselves to doing anything about that. So that's why this is not for everyone, right? Because this takes a high degree of honesty. You have to be willing to tell yourself the truth. Really the truth. And if you're saying, I don't know, or if you're saying, I need every piece of this filled in, you're not telling yourself the truth. So the first thing that you must do if you want to live your vision is you must begin to gain clarity and map out what that is. And this is not all airy-fairy, new agey stuff. Like, there are studies done that show that people who write down and map out their goals are substantially more likely to actually achieve those goals. So this is not just, metaphysical, right? The science supports the idea that when we map things out and set up markers of success for ourselves, we have a much greater degree of actually seeing that in our world. The second thing that you must do if you want to achieve your vision is you must have some purpose that's greater than just you. This is what I call your transcendent purpose. Now, for some of you, this is going to be really big. This is going to be save the world kind of stuff. This is going to be, I need to live my life in such a way that I make a really big impact when it comes to social justice, when it comes to environmental justice, when it comes to alleviating needless suffering. But it doesn't have to be a big global or social issue. This can be, my purpose is that I want to live my life in such a way that I'm a beautiful model for my children. This can be, I want to live my life in such a way that it's resplendent with emotional freedom. Or I want to live my life in such a way that I can travel the globe and see all of these places that, my soul is craving to see. There's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong about what this is. But it's very difficult to step into achieving your vision if it's just all about you. I don't know about, all of you, but for me, where I'm at on any given day, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of up in the air how I feel about it, It's like one day I can be really committed and in action, and the next day I can be in a lot of fear or in a lot of resistance or in a lot of anger. Like, I'm always kind of vacillating, and you always will be if it's just about you. But when I bring my spirit and my heart and my mind back to my transcendent purpose, then I can walk through all of that. There are bad days when it comes to constructing your life in a way that fulfills you. And if you don't have something greater than yourself to be committed to, you're going to give up on those bad days. If you have something bigger, greater, stronger that motivates you, you'll be able to walk through almost anything. And here's the transformational question that I ask myself around this. What am I committed to? Am I committed to my story, or am I committed to my vision? If I'm committed to my story, I'm not going to be able to find the resources. I'm going to feel like it's not the right time to take the action that I need to take. I'm going to feel like the world is against me and nobody gets it and nobody supports me and it's really hard. And I was there for a long time. And the other thing is, even when you do have these breakthroughs, you don't hold them for very long. You don't really live them because there's this part of you that thinks you're not worth it. So there's this kind of unconscious part of you that's always pushing away the good. It's always keeping your transformation at a distance. It's like why it's really easy to get halfway through the self-help book. So you must have a purpose that is greater and bigger than just you. For spiritual people, this usually isn't too hard to find because we tend to be very focused on what we would like to give to other people. And the caution there is you have to do this in a way that fulfills you, not in a way that makes you a martyr, right? So you're not giving to the point of exhaustion here, but it's like, what am I committed to that on my hardest day, right, I'm going to be able to cling to, this part of myself that I'm going to be able to find that's going to allow me to take the next step. So if you want to step into living your vision, you must have a transcendent purpose. The third thing is kind of new agey, and I'll try to make it as practical as I can because it is actually very practical. But the third thing that you must do is that you must make decisions from the place of your future self instead of your present self, which in many times is our past self, actually. So when you're making decisions, right, so you've clarified this vision, this idea of what you want to create for your life, and you have determined, why you want to do this, right? What's my purpose for wanting to have my life architected in a certain way? So now you're at a place where you have to make decisions, right, to move toward that. One thing I notice owning my own business is that sometimes I can get a weariness around making decisions because there are so many of them and they can't wait. And I think that that's the case in life generally as well. On any given day, you're just faced with a lot of decisions. And especially when you step into really getting your vision, it's like immediately all of the junk starts to come up and the universe gauges your seriousness about it. So you have a lot of decisions that you have to make. What most people do is Max Simon puts it like this: you have to be able to make decisions outside of your present circumstance. And what most people do is they look around and they say, okay, well, here's my vision and here's what I'd like, but I'll take the action when the money's in the bank account and when it feels totally comfortable and when all of my friends and family think it's the exact right thing for me to do. So, and that situation is never coming. As someone who waited a really long time, I was always waiting for permission to step into my own power, to step into my own vision. No one will give you that permission. No one will give you that permission. So what most people do is they look around and they try to make a logical decision. I love the Will Smith quote, "Being realistic is the most commonly traveled path to mediocrity." And I think that that's so true because most people, they kind of make this pro and con list, and should I do it now or should I not? Should I not do it now? And you really don't get anywhere because oftentimes those decisions are being made based on a past hurt. So let me give you an example. Does anyone here have the vision to travel? Yeah. To see a lot of the world, right? So that's one vision. So you've mapped that out, you've decided where you might first like to go, and you've analyzed why this is really important to you. And then what most people do is say, okay, well, I'll take the trip when the money's in the bank account or when I have all of the resources. that mindset probably comes from somewhere back in your childhood. So, and it can come from one of two ways. So maybe your parents always said, there's never enough money, and you've kind of, adopted that mindset. Maybe your parents spent very foolishly, and so you have it ingrained in your mind that you have to be very thrifty with your money, or maybe you have some view that there's just not enough money in the universe, or there's enough for everybody else. So you're making a decision about whether or not to travel based on your prior conditioning. Instead, you have to look at the person who's already taken the trips. So imagine that you're in the future and you've already taken the trips, you've already traveled, the money was already there, you were already supported. What kind of decisions would that person be making? That person would commit to the trip and then let the universe deliver onto them the resources to be able to take it. I see this in business a lot. People are waiting to make the investments that they need to make till all of the money's in the sock drawer, instead of looking at what would an entrepreneur who's making six figures, multiple six figures, $1 million, would they be waiting to make an investment in their business? So you have to look at the future you and start making choices as that person instead of the present person, which is often just a collection of past experiences, sometimes very painful past experiences. Now, you can't do that all at once sometimes, but you can always do pieces of it. So if your vision for your life is to have more freedom, then there are ways that you can start building that in now. So maybe you can't map out 20 hours a week quite yet, but perhaps you could map out 30 minutes a week to spend rejuvenating yourself and to spend replenishing yourself. If your view is to give a lot to charity or to be really involved in charitable organizations, you may not be able to commit 40 hours of your week. You may be able to commit 1. You may not be able to write a check for $1,000. You may be able to write a check for 10. So start bringing elements of this, attributes of this, into your life right now. Maybe in your business you can't make the $100,000 investment, but maybe you could make the $500 investment. So you have to make decisions as your future self. The universe actually can't support you in your vision until you do this. People think that the action comes when the resources are already there. That's not true. The commitment comes first, and then the universe gives you the resources to honor that commitment. As long as the commitment's in alignment, the resources will show up. I have seen that over and over and over again with my clients, including ones who are not totally sure how they're going to be able to pay me at the beginning, but they find a way to commit to something, and the universe always supports them. And it doesn't just have to be in money, and it doesn't just have to be in business, but the thing is, the resources often are not forthcoming until the commitment is present. This was a big one for me because I had a lot of issues with safety and security and not feeling safe. And the thing about it is you're not really that safe either way. Like you could be unsafe, committed or not committed to your vision. Actually, a big spiritual shift I had around this came from Linda Austin, actually. And she said, Michael, you say you want these things, but you spend all your time preparing as if they're never going to show up. Burn your bridges. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the bridges I burnt a little bit later on. So you must start to make decisions now from the place of your future self. What would the person that I want to be if my vision arrived today, what kind of choices would they be making? What would they be feeling? How would they be different than what I see around me? And how can I integrate that future self into the choices that I'm making right now? And there are always ways. So start small so that you can build. I mean, this is a muscle, right? And so you start small, and then you build it up, and you can make bigger and bigger and bigger commitments to your vision. The fourth thing that you have to do, and I think this is probably the most challenging one for spiritual people, and I'm going to talk about some of the spiritual principles that I believe have really become perverted and out of alignment with what they're meant to be. But the fourth one is you must be willing to take action that's outside of your comfort zone. Getting your vision is not going to be comfortable. I promise you. It just won't be. In fact, my elite clients, people that coach with me at a very high-end level, we have a practice that's if we don't know what to do next, like if we're feeling stuck or we don't know what is like the next action to take, we find the thing that scares us the most, and that's the action that we take. Because usually if we're freaked out about it, if we're scared about it, it offers us something. It offers us healing. It offers us an opportunity to release something that we've been carrying with us. It offers us the opportunity to see that it's usually not as scary as we built up in our mind. I mean, it almost never is worse. And even in those moments when it doesn't go according to plan, often when you do that, which is scary, it's a willingness to be vulnerable so other people are better able to support you. They're better able to come in and actually be your friend and actually love you through the experience. So you must be willing to take action. I think that the law of attraction has done a little bit of a disservice here to people because there's this sense of I'm just going to meditate my way to my vision. Or I'm just going to, create a vision board and own my way to my vision. And it's not true. I believe that meditation, visioning, affirmation are all essential practices. They've saved my life, actually. That's how much I believe in them. But the reason they've saved my life is not because I meditated and then everything was perfect and the exact right experiences came knocking on my doorstep. The reason they saved my life is because they got me in a space to be able to meet the universe halfway. So meditation's affirmation is about getting you in the spiritual and emotional place to be able to take the action that you need to have a fantastic, fulfilling life. So spirituality is not about retreating from the world. I see this trend of I'm just going to retreat into myself, and then when it's all totally clear, I'll take the action. And I really believe that the inward turn is so we can take the outward action. I believe there's a reason why we're having a human experience. So you must be willing to take action that is outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes this is so painful. I was recently at an event where there was a lot of public dancing happening at every break, and I just was so uncomfortable. So resistant. I'd paid a lot of money to be at this, and I just wanted to retreat to my room and not be around it. And so, I had to really face, it doesn't seem like a big thing, right? Dancing in a room with hundreds of other people, but I was crippled by the thought of doing this. And, so I worked as much as I could to confront that. So at first I'm just kind of just moving a little, and I'm just sort of working my way up. So sometimes it's just these little things that you have to step into. A couple years ago, something that I did was take voice lessons. Not that I have any intention on singing in public, but just because the thought of it was a little bit scary and frightening. So find things that, they may be outside of what your vision is, but just by challenging yourself to take actions that really make you uncomfortable, you can have a lot of growth, and you're actually then better prepared to show up to take the actions that you need to take in your business. After I danced in public, making a sales call to somebody did not seem so scary to me anymore. So it doesn't always have to be directly related to what your vision is, but if there are things where you're being triggered or things where you're feeling really uncomfortable, it's probably something that you should find a way to step into. I don't recommend you go this alone. I recommend you find a coach, a mentor, a meetup group. There are events at this community. I mean, whatever. I really believe in getting support. There's no reason to take the long way around to your vision. And usually that happens when you feel like you have to go it alone. And that's really untrue. I think that's the biggest lie that we tell ourselves, is the lie that we have to go it alone. So you must be willing to take action outside of your comfort zone. Is it okay if I share with you why I'm so passionate about this? I don't know if any of you know what it's like to feel like you have a calling, a really big purpose, and you just don't see it showing up in your life. It kind of is like spoiled milk. Like that's sort of like what it feels like, to feel like you have this big destiny, this big thing that you're supposed to do, and you just don't see it around you. Maybe people think you're crazy, maybe other people don't see it either. Well, that's kind of where I was 3.5, 4 years ago. I had my business, and it was not making a very big impact, to be real honest. I had some clients, I helped some people. It was mostly one-to-one. I certainly was not making a lot of money, so I find myself with this business that isn't. I graduate college, and here I am living in my mom's basement in a city I don't want to be in, working a job where I'm getting paid $8 an hour, a job at which I almost get fired from because I'm the only person in the entire company to have not sold anything. And the only reason that I don't get fired is because I get transferred to a customer service department, which is like another irony, if you know me, that I would be in customer service. But so this is where I find myself, and I don't even have the words to describe what a stifling experience it was. I was so disgusted with myself. I was depressed. I was angry. I thought I have all these talents. I have all this God-given potential, and I'm just wasting it. So that's where I was 3.5, 4 years ago. And I was basically waiting for it to be comfortable. I had thought, well, I hung up my shingle for my business, so, maybe I won't be a millionaire in like 6 months, but, definitely a year. Definitely, definitely 18 months. So, I was waiting for it to be really comfortable. And I woke up one day, and I was so disgusted. But in the middle of it all, I had this moment of clarity that I had to do something differently. And so I packed a suitcase, and I had, I think $500 to my name, plus a mountain of debt and no credit. So this is where I find myself. So I pack my suitcase, I call a cab because I don't own a car, I don't have the money to get a car, and I leave my mom's house, much to her anger, and I come to Minneapolis, and I beg my friend to let me stay on his couch. And in that moment, I was willing to be homeless for my vision. I was willing to be in debt for my vision. I was willing to lose the relationship I had with my mom for my vision. Because in that moment, staying where I was so much scarier to me than all of those other things. So that's why I'm passionate about taking action that's outside of your comfort zone. And in 3.5 years, I tripled our gross sales in my business. We just added a third team member to my team. I got married to the partner of my dreams. We moved into the loft of my dreams. A lot of beautiful things happened. And at the end of the day, those things are great. Those things could be taken away. But what can't be taken away from me is the fact that I could get it all back. It's the knowledge that I have to be able to rebuild it. And so when you have a vision, every single one of you will be given a crossroads moment. You may not be in the back of a cab weeping because you're not sure about what you just did, but you'll be given a moment of choice. And it's not going to be comfortable, and it's not going to be convenient, But if you have the courage to just take the action, the universe is going to give you what you need. The final thing that you have to do if you want to achieve your vision is you must be willing to hold on to your vision even when the world thinks you're crazy. And in fact, if someone's not calling you crazy for your vision, it's probably not a big enough vision. So you have to be able to hold on to it when nobody else can see it around you. There were so many moments over those 4 years where people, very well-meaning people that loved me and wanted to support me, said, "What the hell are you thinking? You're crazy. You're crazy. This will never happen. This will never happen." And you know what? Hands off my imagination. Because the bottom line is there was a part inside of me that knew it was possible. And that part is inside all of you. And it takes a conscious effort, though, to be able to connect with it. So I had to find a way to see the money and see the clients when they certainly were not beating down the door to find me. I had to find a way to see the relationship that I wanted, even as I was going through a string of really dysfunctional relationships. So you have to find a way to hold on to what it is your heart says is best for you, even when the world thinks you're crazy. And that's where spiritual discipline comes in. And that's where meditation and spiritual practice come in. And that's where removing all of the barriers to achieving your vision come in, and working on the worthiness issues, right? Who am I to do this? Who am I to have this? You know, other people are suffering, so I can't have my life, be joyful or be fulfilling. And so there will be moments as you go throughout actualizing your vision where other people don't get it. And it isn't that they're evil, and it isn't that they're bad, and it isn't that, they're trying to keep you down. It's just that they're on their own journey, and sometimes when you decide to step into your vision, it can be very threatening to other people, because a lot of people, would prefer to live their life on autopilot. So just understand that as you go about actualizing and living your vision, sometimes your relationships shift to make space for the people who now can support you. Sometimes other people don't like you. Sometimes people cut you down. So just understand that will happen. The thing is, that happens anyways. That happens anyways. The difference is when you step into really living your vision, you just don't care as much. You just don't care as much about what other people think or what other people say. Sometimes I feel like the best evidence we have in my business that we're doing things right is when people are getting pissed off. Because at least we've stirred something in them. At least we've challenged something in them. At least something energetically has arisen in them. So sometimes, the strong emotional reaction, both on the supportive side and on the more challenging side, are actually evidence that you're on the right path. And when I say hands off my imagination, what I mean is that don't give people the opportunity to step all over your vision. My vision is not up for debate. It's not up for deliberation, And so if you know that there's somebody in your life who does not have the skill set, the life experience, the level of awareness or consciousness to be able to support you, then don't share your vision with them. Find a way to connect with people that can really support you in achieving that vision. Because here's the thing, and I want to leave you on this. When you do the work to figure out what this vision is, when you connect with what is the purpose behind that vision, when you make decisions from the place of your future self, when you take action that's outside of your comfort zone, and when you're able to hang on to your vision, even when the world thinks you're crazy, it's not always easy. It's not always convenient. It's not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. Thanks for having me today.